You know that blue jar sitting in your medicine cabinet? The one you only pull out when you're stuffed up with a cold? Well, our grandparents knew something we've forgotten. They used Vicks VapoRub for dozens of problems we spent a fortune trying to solve today. I'm talking about real solutions that worked in the 1940s, 50s, and 60s, when people couldn't just run to the drugstore for every little ailment. Today, I'm sharing 25 incredible ways they use this humble ointment that'll save you money and solve problems you're dealing with right now. Let's get started. Steam inhalation treatment. During the 1918 flu pandemic, when people were desperate for anything that would help them breathe, this technique became incredibly popular. They'd boil water, pour it into a large bowl, and add about a teaspoon of Vicks to the hot water. Then they'd drape a towel over their head to create a tent and breathe in that medicated steam for 10 to 15 minutes. The heat helped loosen congestion, while the Vicks vapors went deep into the lungs and sinuses. This was particularly effective for chest colds and bronchitis. My grandfather, who worked in the coal mines in Pennsylvania, swore this was the only thing that cleared out the coal dust and helped him breathe at night. The trick was keeping your face far enough from the water to avoid burns, but close enough to get the full benefit of the steam. They do this twice a day when sick, once in the morning and once before bed. Soothing sore muscles after hard work. Before Bengay and Icy Hot existed, farmers and laborers relied on Vicks for their aching muscles. After a long day of physical work, they'd warm the jar by placing it in a bowl of hot water for a few minutes. This made the ointment spread easier and penetrate deeper. They'd spend a good 15 to 20 minutes massaging it into sore muscles, really working it in deep. The menthol created this cooling sensation that distracted from the pain, while the camphor improved blood flow to the area, which helped with healing. Railroad workers in the 1940s carried little tins of Vicks in their lunch pails specifically for their backs. They developed this technique where they'd apply a thick layer to the sore area, cover it with a warm, damp flannel cloth, and leave it there for half an hour. They called it a Vicks compress, and it worked better than anything else available at the time. The heat from the compress drove the medication deeper into the muscle tissue. Men would come home from laying railroad track all day, barely able to move, and this treatment would have them feeling better within an hour, easing tension headaches without pills. Your grandmother probably knew this trick, and it worked faster than aspirin. When a headache started, she'd apply a tiny amount of Vicks to 4 specific spots. Both temples, the center of the forehead just above the eyebrows, and the base of the skull where it meets the neck. The technique was important. Using just the tips of their index fingers, they'd massage each spot in small circles for about 2 minutes. The cooling sensation combined with the aromatherapy effect of the eucalyptus oil provided relief within minutes. Women in the 1950s kept small compacts of Vicks in their purses just for headaches. My aunt told me she'd excuse herself to the ladies' room at work, apply this treatment, and be back at her desk feeling better before her break was over. The key was using very small amounts, about the size of a match head at each point. If you used too much, your eyes would water and you'd be miserable. Some women would also apply a thin line along their hairline from ear to ear, what they called a headache band, which provided relief that lasted for hours. Treating athlete's foot effectively. Before antifungal creams were invented, Vicks was the go-to treatment for athlete's foot, and honestly, it worked better than a lot of modern treatments. Our grandparents would apply it twice a day, morning and night, after washing and thoroughly drying their feet. The key word there is thoroughly. Any moisture left between the toes would prevent it from working. They'd use a cotton swab to get the Vicks between each toe, being careful not to cross-contaminate by using the same swab for different areas. The thymol in Vicks has natural antifungal properties. They didn't understand the science back then, but they saw the results. Coal miners in West Virginia, who spent their days in damp boots, would soak their feet in warm water with Epsom salts first, dry them completely, then apply Vicks generously before putting on clean cotton socks. The mining companies actually provided Vicks in their first aid stations because it was so effective. Within 2 weeks of consistent use, even stubborn cases would clear up. They'd also put a thin layer inside their work boots to prevent reinfection. The trick was being religious about the twice daily application. Missing even a few days would let the fungus come back. Preventing and treating toenail fungus. This remedy requires patience. But it works. Soldiers returning from World War II who developed nail fungus in the jungles of the Pacific discovered that Vicks could cure what military doctors couldn't. The technique involved filing the affected nail lightly with an emery board to roughen the surface, which helped the Vicks penetrate better. Then they'd apply it directly to the nail and the surrounding skin every single night before bed. They'd use an old toothbrush to work it on the nail as far as it would go, then cover with cotton socks and leave it overnight. This treatment took time, usually 3 to 6 months of consistent application, but it worked. The important thing was treating all the nails, even the ones that looked healthy, to prevent the fungus from spreading. Some people would add a few drops of tea tree oil to boost the antifungal effect, though plain Vicks usually did the job. By the 1960s, foot doctors were actually recommending this home remedy to patients who couldn't afford prescription antifungal medications, which were expensive and sometimes had side effects. Moisturizing and healing cracked feet. During the Depression, when luxury items like foot cream were out of the question, families discovered Vicks could heal even the worst cracked heels. Women who'd been on their feet all day in factories or doing farm work would come home with feet that were dried out and painful. The treatment became a weekly ritual. They'd soak their feet in warm water for 10 minutes, use a pumice stone gently on the rough spots, then dry thoroughly. Next came a generous application of Vicks all over the feet, paying extra attention to heels and any cracked areas. Then they'd put on thick wool socks and go to bed. By morning, their feet would be noticeably softer and cracks would start healing. The petroleum jelly base provided deep moisture, while the menthol and eucalyptus promoted healing of the damaged skin. Farm wives would do this treatment twice a week during winter when the skin got driest. Some would mix the Vicks with a bit of baking soda to create a scrub for particularly rough spots. Within a month of regular treatment, feet that had been cracked and painful for years would be smooth and comfortable. Treating chapped lips in winter. Before chapstick became a household name, people used Vicks on their lips during harsh winters. Now, you had to be careful with this one. They'd use just the tiniest amount, what could fit on the tip of a pinky finger, and they'd apply it at night mainly, because the menthol tingle was too much for daytime. For children who wouldn't tolerate the strong sensation, mothers would mix a small amount of Vicks with honey. This created a lip treatment that worked beautifully and tasted better. During the brutal winters in the Midwest in the 1940s, this mixture was so common that families kept a separate little container just for lips, often adding a drop of vanilla extract to make it more pleasant. The camphor helped heal the cracks, while petroleum jelly created a barrier against wind and cold. People who worked outdoors, like mail carriers and farmers, would apply this before heading out into freezing weather, and their lips would stay protected all day, repelling insects naturally. Long before DEET and all those chemical bug sprays, our grandparents discovered that mosquitoes absolutely hated the smell of Vicks. They'd apply small amounts to their pulse points before going outside on summer evenings, wrists, ankles, behind the ears, and the back of the neck. Farmers would even put dabs on their horses and cattle to keep the flies away. The eucalyptus and menthol created an invisible barrier that insects found repulsive but wasn't harmful to people or animals. During camping trips in the 1950s, families would place open jars of Vicks around the perimeter of their campsite. Some people mixed it with citronella oil for extra protection. This method was so effective that Army units in the Pacific during World War II were issued Vicks as part of their standard mosquito prevention supplies. The key was reapplying every few hours as the scent faded. But for an evening sitting on the porch or working the garden, one application would keep you bite-free, healing minor cuts and scrapes. Before Neosporin existed, Vicks was a household antiseptic. After cleaning a cut with soap and water, they'd apply a thin layer of Vicks and cover it with a clean bandage. The camphor acted as a mild antiseptic, while the petroleum jelly kept the wound moist, which we now know helps it heal faster. School nurses in the 1940s and 50s kept jars of Vicks in their offices for playground injuries. Kids actually preferred it to the stinging antiseptics like iodine and mercurochrome. The cooling sensation felt good instead of burning. The trick was using clean fingers or a cotton swab for application to keep from introducing bacteria. Many families kept a small jar used only for wounds separate from the one used for colds, to prevent contamination. Cuts would heal quickly without scabbing as badly as they did with other treatments available at the time, reducing the appearance of stretch marks. Women in the 1950s passed this remedy down to their daughters as part of postpartum care. They'd warm the Vicks between their palms, then massage it into stretch marks using firm circular motions for at least 5 minutes. Twice a day, the eucalyptus oil improved blood circulation to the area, while the petroleum jelly kept the skin supple and hydrated. They believed the camphor helped break down scar tissue, and while that wasn't scientifically proven, many women swore they saw results. Some would mix the Vicks with cocoa butter for enhanced effects. This treatment required dedication. You had to do it consistently for 3 to 4 months to see significant fading. But considering how expensive and ineffective most stretch mark treatments were, this home remedy was worth trying. My mother used this after having my brother, and she said that while the stretch marks didn't completely disappear, they definitely faded and became much less noticeable over time. Soothing arthritis pain. Our grandparents with arthritis found that Vicks worked better than expensive liniments and had fewer side effects than early arthritis medications. The technique required some preparation, but was worth it. First, they'd warm the affected joint with a heating pad or hot water bottle for about 10 minutes. Then they'd massage Vicks into the joint thoroughly, starting with gentle circles and gradually increasing pressure as the joint warmed up. This massage would take at least 10 minutes per joint. After application, they'd wrap the joint loosely with flannel or wool to hold in the heat. The menthol provided immediate cooling relief, which seems contradictory, but it worked by distracting from the deeper pain. Meanwhile, the massage action improved circulation and flexibility. This treatment became especially popular in the 1960s when people realized that many arthritis medications had serious side effects. Elderly folks kept Vicks on their nightstand specifically for morning stiffness. Some would add just a tiny pinch of cayenne pepper to their Vicks for extra warmth, though this had to be done carefully to avoid skin irritation. Treating coughs in children safely. This might be the most ingenious use of Vicks that our grandparents discovered. When children had nighttime coughs, instead of applying Vicks near their faces where it might be too strong or get in their eyes, parents would rub it on the bottoms of their feet and then put socks on them. This technique became widespread in the 1940s and worked remarkably well. Parents would massage about a teaspoon of Vicks into each foot, paying attention to the arch and heel, then cover with cotton socks. The theory was that the vapors would rise during the night and be inhaled while the child slept. Pediatric nurses recommended this method for children under 2 who were too young for chest application. Parents reported that coughing would often stop within minutes of applying it to the feet. Many said it worked even better than chest application for young children. The ritual often became a comforting part of the bedtime routine when a child was sick. Kids would actually look forward to it because it came with the extra attention and foot massage from mom or dad. Using as emergency deodorant. During the Depression and World War II, when commercial deodorants were either expensive or rationed, people discovered Vicks could prevent body odor. They'd apply just a small amount to clean, dry underarms, being very careful not to overdo it because too much would irritate the skin. The antibacterial properties of eucalyptus and thymol actually prevented the bacteria that cause odor from growing. It wasn't just masking the smell like perfumes did. It was preventing it at the source. Factory workers in the 1940s particularly liked this method because the strong menthol scent would mask any odor that did develop during a hard day's work. The trick was applying at least 30 minutes before getting dressed to let the initial strong scent calm down. Some people mix a bit of Vicks with cornstarch to create a drier application that wouldn't stain their clothes. It wasn't a perfect solution, but when regular deodorant wasn't available or affordable, it got the job done, relieving muscle cramps quickly. Nighttime leg cramps were treated with Vicks long before anyone really understood why it worked so well. People would keep a jar on the nightstand, and at the first twinge of a cramp, they'd grab it and start massaging a generous amount into the cramping muscle. The technique was to work against the direction of the cramp, rubbing firmly but not roughly. The menthol's cooling effect seemed to interrupt the pain signals to the brain, while the massage itself helped the muscle relax. Athletes in the 1950s started using this trick and would apply Vicks both before and after competitions to prevent cramps. The key was really working it deep into the muscle tissue for at least 5 minutes, not just rubbing it on the surface. Some people would follow up with gentle stretching, while the Vicks was still active on their skin. This combination of the ointment and stretching was so effective that doctors started recommending it to patients with chronic cramping conditions like restless leg syndrome, reducing acne naturally. Teenagers in the 1960s discovered that dabbing Vicks on pimples before bed could shrink them overnight. The trick was using a cotton swab to apply it only to the pimple itself, not the surrounding skin, which would get irritated. The camphor and eucalyptus had antibacterial properties that fought the infection causing the pimple, while the menthol reduced inflammation and redness. You had to be careful though. Too much could cause the skin to peel or create a burning sensation. Some teens would mix a tiny bit of Vicks with their regular face cream for a gentler application that could be used more broadly. This remedy was popular because it worked overnight and could be washed off in the morning, avoiding the embarrassment of visible acne treatments during the school day. My older sister used this throughout high school and swore it worked better than the expensive acne medication she'd tried. The key was consistency and not picking at the pimples after application, preventing pet scratches from scarring. Families with cats learned that applying Vicks immediately to fresh scratches could prevent scarring and speed healing. The antiseptic properties kept the scratches from getting infected, while the petroleum jelly base kept the wound moist, which reduces scarring. The process was simple. Clean the scratch with soap and water, pat dry, apply a thin layer of Vicks, and reapply twice daily until healed. Farm families use this for all kinds of minor animal-related injuries, not just cat scratches. There was a bonus benefit too. The strong scent often kept pets from licking or bothering the wound, which meant it could heal undisturbed. Rural veterinarians would actually recommend this treatment to people who came in with minor scratches from their animals. It worked particularly well on children who were prone to scratching at injuries and making them worse. The Vicks created a barrier that protected the wound while it healed, freshening bathroom and living spaces. Housewives in the 1950s discovered that Vicks could freshen entire rooms without leaving that artificial air freshener smell. They put tiny dabs in strategic spots, under the toilet rim, inside the bathroom trash can, or on air conditioning filters where the airflow would spread the scent. The menthol vapors didn't just mask odors, they actually neutralized them. Some women would mix Vicks with baking soda to create little sachets for closets and drawers that would keep clothes smelling fresh. This was especially useful in homes with smokers, as the eucalyptus scent seemed to cut through cigarette smell better than anything else available at the time. The important thing was using very small amounts. Too much would make the room smell like a hospital. A pea-sized dab in the right spot could keep a bathroom fresh for days. It was subtle but effective and much cheaper than buying commercial air fresheners. Easing menstrual cramps. Women passed this remedy down through generations as part of managing monthly discomfort. They'd lie down with a hot water bottle on the lower abdomen, first to relax the muscles, then massage about a tablespoon of Vicks in circular motions across the lower belly and lower back. The menthol provided a cooling distraction from the cramping pain, while massage action helped relax the uterine muscles. Many women in the 1940s and 50s preferred this to taking medication, which was either expensive or had side effects. After massaging in the Vicks, they'd often place a warm compress over the area to enhance the effect. The combination of the heat, the massage, and the medicinal properties of the Vicks provided significant relief. This was one of those remedies that mothers taught their daughters when they started menstruating, along with other wisdom about managing their cycles. It was part of women's knowledge that was shared quietly but widely, soothing minor sunburns. Before aloe vera became the standard sunburn treatment, our grandparents used Vicks for minor sun exposure. They wouldn't use it straight though. They'd mix it with apple cider vinegar to create a cooling treatment that took the sting out while promoting healing. The application had to be very gentle, patting it on rather than rubbing, to avoid further irritating the damaged skin. This remedy was especially popular at beach communities in the 1950s. The menthol provided immediate cooling relief, while the petroleum jelly prevented the skin from drying out and peeling as badly. They were careful to use this only for minor burns, the kind where the skin was pink and uncomfortable, but not blistered. Serious sunburns always required medical attention. For those mild cases, though, this mixture would have you feeling better within an hour of application. Some people would add a bit of witch hazel to the mix for extra soothing power. You'd apply it, let it dry, and reapply every few hours as needed, fixing dry, rough elbows. Factory workers and anyone who leaned on their elbows a lot suffered from rough, darkened skin on those joints. Vicks became the solution. The treatment involved scrubbing the elbows first with a homemade mixture of sugar and olive oil to remove dead skin, then applying Vicks generously. The clever part was covering the elbows with old socks that had the toes cut off, wearing them overnight to keep the Vicks in place. This intensive treatment would transform even the roughest elbows within a week of nightly application. The petroleum jelly provided deep moisture, while the camphor and eucalyptus promoted skin cell turnover and healing. Women included this in their weekly beauty routine, along with setting their hair and doing their nails. It was one of those things that seemed minor, but made a real difference in how they looked and felt. Soft elbows might not seem important, but when you'd had rough, cracked elbows for years, finally getting them smooth again was a big deal. Preventing head lice infestations. During lice outbreaks at schools in the 1940s and 50s, parents used Vicks as a preventive measure. They'd apply small amounts along the hairline, behind the ears, and at the nape of the neck before sending kids to school. The strong scent repelled lice, while the petroleum jelly base made it difficult for nits to attach to the hair shaft. The trick was using small enough amounts that the hair didn't look greasy, which would have been socially embarrassing for kids. Some parents would mix Vicks with hair oil or pomade for easier application and a more natural look. This wasn't a treatment for existing lice infestations. That required more aggressive measures, but as prevention during known outbreaks, it was remarkably effective. Teachers would even recommend it to parents when lice started going around the classroom. It became standard practice in many communities, just part of the routine during lice season. Improving sleep quality during illness. When someone was sick, our grandparents had an elaborate bedtime ritual with Vicks that went way beyond a simple chest rub. They'd apply it to the chest, back, and feet. Then they'd put a small amount on a handkerchief and tuck it under the pillow, so they'd breathe the vapors all night. Some people would even put a tiny dab on their upper lip right before sleep, though you had to be careful not to get it too close to your eyes. They'd wear special pajamas designated just for being sick, old ones that could get stained with the ointment without worry. The room would be kept slightly warm to encourage the vapors to circulate. This multi-pronged approach created what they called a vapor tent effect that lasted all night and provided continuous relief. Many families had specific patterns for applying Vicks that had been passed down through generations. Each family swore their particular method was the most effective, whether it was a ritual itself or the actual medical benefit. Sick people slept better with this routine. Eliminating shoe odors. Before odor eaters and all the modern shoe deodorizers, Vicks was the secret weapon against smelly shoes. After cleaning the shoes as best they could, people would apply a thin layer of Vicks inside, especially in the toe area where odor concentrated. They'd leave the shoes in a warm, dry place overnight to let the vapors penetrate the material and kill the odor-causing bacteria. For particularly stubborn smells, they'd stuff the shoes with newspaper that had been lightly dabbed with Vicks. This method was especially popular with athletes and laborers whose shoes took a beating every day. The antibacterial properties actually eliminated the bacteria causing the smell rather than just covering it up temporarily. Some people would make little sachets out of cotton balls soaked in Vicks and leave them in their shoes between wearings. This kept the shoes fresh and prevented odors from building up in the first place. It was simple, it was cheap, and most importantly, it worked, relieving cough and cold symptoms. Now, you might think you already know this one, but hear me out. Our grandparents didn't just slap some Vicks on their chest and call it a day. They had a whole technique that made it work 10 times better. First, they'd warm up the chest area with a hot, damp washcloth for about 5 minutes. This opened up the pores. Then they'd take about a tablespoon of Vicks and work it into the skin, starting at the center of the chest and moving outward in slow circles. But here's what most people don't know. They applied to the upper back too, right between the shoulder blades. They called this creating a vapor jacket. After applying it, They put on a cotton undershirt that had been warmed in the dryer or near a radiator. The combination of the warmth and the menthol vapors created this incredible decongestant effect that lasted all night long. My grandmother used to say this method kept her family out of the doctor's office every winter during the Depression, when a doctor visit cost money they didn't have. The menthol opens up your airways, the camphor reduces inflammation, and eucalyptus oil works as a natural expectorant. Together, they're more effective than a lot of the expensive cold medicines you'll find today. The mustache method for instant nasal relief. This is one of my favorite tricks because it works so fast. Our grandparents would take just a tiny dab of Vicks, about the size of a grain of rice, and place it right in that little groove between the nostril and the upper lip. Not inside the nose, that would burn just on the outside. They called it the mustache method, and it worked because the vapors would rise straight up into your nasal passages without irritating the sensitive skin inside your nose. Within seconds, you could breathe clearly again. Factory workers in the 1950s would keep small tins of Vicks in their pockets just for this. During flu season, you'd see guys with this tiny smear under their noses all day long. Some people would mix their Vicks with a bit of plain petroleum jelly to make it gentler for repeated use throughout the day. There you have it. 25 ways our grandparents used Vicks VapoRub that most of us have completely forgotten. These weren't just old wives' tales. These were real solutions that worked when people couldn't afford to waste money on products that didn't deliver. Which of these surprised you the most? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this trip back in time, hit that subscribe button. I've got plenty more forgotten wisdom to share with you.